So I don't know about you all, but it's pretty hard to believe that we are already approaching the tail end of March, and when it comes to Nintendo Switch new game releases, we need to discuss the month of April because there's actually quite a few notable titles that are dropping that I want to share with you all, as I'm sure many fans are looking for some kind of distraction or way to pass the time while we wait for arguably the biggest Nintendo Switch game release so far, which is none other than Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And while we will have to wait until May 12th for that particular title, there are still some other ones that are worth checking out and potentially adding into your Nintendo Switch library in the month of April, and we need to go over all those details right now. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, today we are taking a look at every major Nintendo Switch release in the month of April, some of which are more notable than others, and we will not deep dive into every game on today's list according to releases.com. Of course, this isn't going to know about anything that is unannounced or may shadow drop in the month of April, but outside of that, it has every major release that is scheduled for the platform to go live in the month of April available on this website. So we will skip past Road 96, Mile Zero. I don't know what that is, maybe a story-based game. For Fire Emblem Engage fans, you do have Wave 4 of the expansion pass, which does promise to add a new story scenario known as Fell Sinologue, new characters, locations, and map, and added class types. And while Fire Emblem Engage is a game I have not personally been able to go through at this point in time, it is in my backlog and I intend to play through it one day, and it's one of the better reviewed Fire Emblem games. It currently sits at an 80 on Metacritic, and you are actually getting, I believe, the last scheduled wave of content with this update being Wave 4. That is out on April 4th that you can download on your Nintendo Switch and hop into yourself to experience. Next up is Grim More Once More. I think that's how you say it. This is actually a PlayStation 2 game originally, and I'm not super familiar with any of the gameplay mechanics or what it has to offer myself, but another one that will be out on April 4th nonetheless. A Light in the Dark looks to be an indie adventure story-driven type of experience, just judging from the trailer briefly. Nothing really popped out to me on this one as far as it being my style of game, but it's another one that will be releasing in the month of April. You can pick that up April 5th on the Nintendo Switch. Adora Lost Heaven is next on our list, coming out April 6th. This is an action RPG that I was actually pretty impressed by in the initial trailer and doing some research for this video, so it's definitely on my radar. I don't know what this game will launch at, but in terms of just a top-down overhead style fast action RPG, quick response times, really cool looking attacks, and I'm assuming a lot of different weapon upgrade and ability paths to be unlocked. This one's worth noting and definitely seems like you should look into it if you're more of a fan of those indie style action RPGs and you want another one in your Switch collection. Curse of the Sea Rats next up, out on April 6th. Melon Journey Bittersweet Memories out April 6th. Volley Pals, that is a game I can only assume is based off of volleyball. Paparazzi, I'm assuming that's a game where you take pictures of dogs. What else would it possibly be? The Library of Babel next up on April 7th. This one actually looks pretty cool in terms of the art style and the side scrolling progression of how you go through the game. Like some of the tactics that they use in the lighting in basically a love letter to old school SNES, Sega Genesis era games. It's really cool to see when it's well done. And this one, action platforming all throughout. Looks like you have to be stealthy because there's definitely an element of don't get caught that you can see throughout the gameplay trailer, and some very interesting creatures. So I'm all about this title. This actually definitely is one that is again on my list of surprises that, as doing research for the video, is worth noting. If you're looking for something that scratches that action 2D platformer type of itch with a lot of stealth baked in, that looks like one worth paying attention to. Next up, you have Process of Elimination, a game I'm not very familiar with, but from the trailer just looks like a story-driven, kind of like you're playing through a movie, but if you like to read a lot, you may want to look into that one. Not one that popped up on my radar. Castle of Shikigami, I think is how you pronounce that too. I didn't play the first one. Again, not much to say about that. De-Exit Eternal Matters others. And then these are all out April through 11th, 13th, and then 14th. But then you have one that is on my radar, which is none other than Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. I didn't get to play a ton of these in the Game Boy Advance DS era that they were originally released on, but I will say that this has a very hardcore following behind it online. There is a lot of strategy RPG elements and nods to the series as a whole, and I've been a lifelong Mega Man fan, of course, so the art style, the fact that Capcom is bringing this back and actually giving you different filter options in terms of how the graphics look, it's everything you want from one of those classic collections that you maybe grew up playing and have a ton of nostalgia for. And I will give kudos to Capcom on actually supporting their old library of games and bringing them back at a fair and affordable price in the modern era on modern consoles. You'll love to see it, and this is another one that will be a marquee pickup, one I'm planning on buying day one when it's out on April 14th on your Nintendo Switch. Next up, you have God of Rock, you have Minecraft Legends, which is another one we'll spend just a little bit of time on. Of course, Minecraft is a massive franchise. It is arguably one of the biggest gaming franchises today. It is a Microsoft developed game, but of course, Microsoft and Nintendo have had a very good working relationship in recent years, and this is coming out day and date on the Nintendo Switch. This looks like everything you know and love about Minecraft, but a more adventure focused aspect of the game. It also looks a lot faster paced to me. I don't claim to know much about the later updates that have hit Minecraft, but I will say that in terms of the horseback combat and different things that they've highlighted in the trailer and the gameplay, it definitely looks like it's a step up from the Minecraft that you have today. And, you know, obviously a lot of the building aspects still intact, but this one's big selling point definitely seems to be around the action and the combat and the defending your crew against various waves of enemies, taking over castles, defending your own. So it's one that, especially, I'm sure if you have some friends that are into Minecraft as well, and you can play online or locally together. I'm not sure if it supports local play, hopefully it does, but regardless, that definitely looks like one that would be fun to go through with a friend, considering it is multiplayer. And Minecraft Legends will be available on the Switch on April 18th. Now from there, you have a game called The Mega Seeker, a League of Legends story, which of course is a play on the wildly popular League of Legends franchise, which if you're into that and you're into the backlog and the story, it might be worth it. But in terms of just the gameplay and the trailer that you watch, I was definitely impressed by it. It's, again, one of these classic style games that's a love letter to the past, but updated with more modern enhancements than what you would see in those games. And the action and combat is really what stuck out to me in this particular trailer. It looks like there's some crazy beasts, some really fast action platforming, and also just whatever those chains are that you're using to hop across different platforms and fight the enemies with look really cool. A little bit Kratos-esque, if you will, in terms of how you're fighting all of the enemies with brute force. So maybe not a bad one to look into. Also out on April 18th on the Nintendo Switch. DNF Fuel is the next one on the list. We won't spend any time on some of these going through here. Tin Hearts is another game that will be out April 20th. Coffee Talk Episode 2. Hibiscus and something, it cuts off there, but I do think this was maybe at a Nintendo Direct Indie World presentation. Didn't really stick out to me. Arcana of Paradise, The Tower is next up on the list. This one is an action adventure game with, it looks like, some card elements based off of the trailer. It's out April 20th if you want to look more into that one. Molly Medusa, Queen of Spit is one that I didn't think we would spend any time on, but to my surprise, and upon further investigation, this is actually a game that Zelda fans should check out because it's actually a 3D style, like literally Legend of Zelda love story. I mean, there's legitimately a hook shot in this game and definitely like a Spirit Temple themed area. It looks like a lot of the puzzles and how you traverse in the game is all Legend of Zelda inspired. So if you're looking for something to hold you over while, you know, we wait on Tears of the Kingdom, but I would definitely equate this more to a classical Zelda experience rather than a Breath of the Wild experience, this would be the one for you to check out. If you like the old school progression of conquer each dungeon, progress forward, figure out the puzzles, get new unique items along the way, and figure out how to utilize them in order to progress, this is the game that I think is definitely worth checking out. I was really blown away by the fact that I never heard about this before, and it looks as good as it does, so it's worth paying attention to some of the smaller releases sometimes on the Switch. I'm actually interested in picking this one up myself, and it is out April 20th on the Switch, so definitely highly recommend looking into Molly Medusa, Queen of Spit. Then you have Mia and the Dragon. Princess out the 21st, and the big release for Nintendo in the month of April. Of course, it's a year late, but it's none other than Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, the strategy RPG king of the Game Boy Advance era. I didn't get to play much, if at all, of the original games, so I'm very excited to check this one out and see what all of the fan hype is around them, because it is a beloved Nintendo franchise that it's really a fan service game. It's not going to sell a ton of copies, but it is something that those who know what it has to offer are very excited for, and I'm excited to experience it for the first time. This, of course, was supposed to be one of the major marquee releases last year on Nintendo's new games roadmap, but was pushed back due to not extra development time, but rather real world events, and Nintendo being concerned about releasing it in light of all of the events. Of course, the game had to come out eventually. It was all done and ready to go, and here we are. It's finally out in the month of April on the 21st. I'm sure, as what we've seen recently in a trend with certain remasters coming back to modern platforms, this will probably get a very high Metacritic score. It seems to impress the people who love the franchise, and I'm definitely excited to hop in for the first time. So mark your calendars. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp is finally out on April 21st. We will go through some of the last ones here that may be worth paying attention to, many of which I'm not super familiar with. So you have Desta, The Memories Between, Smile for Me, and those are both out April 23rd and 24th. On the 25th, we have a game called Fairy Fencer, F Refrain of Chord, and then you have After Image, Strayed Lights, Trinity Trigger, Magical Drop 6, all out on April 25th. On the 27th, you have a game called Prototype Delta, which actually, judging from the trailer, looks pretty enjoyable. It's super fast action platforming at its finest, and then it definitely looks like a high intensity game as everything unfolds at a rapid pace. So again, one of the ones that I was more impressed by on the trailer, and you will definitely have to have quick reflexes to traverse through the levels in this one from the looks of things. So if you could imagine Crash Bandicoot platforming, but then some Mega Man style shooting at enemies and slashing them with your sword style combat, it looks pretty good at first glance. And that, of course, again, will be out on April 27th. From there, we have Omega Strikers, Bramble the Mountain King, Kizuna AI, Touch of the Beat, I'm assuming some kind of rhythm game, Mugen Souls, which looks like another one of those, how is this on a Nintendo platform style game, M-rated with definitely some suggestive themes going on, but nonetheless, that's out April 27th. And then finally, Pixel Noir wrapping up our list here. These are the games that will be out in April on the Nintendo Switch. Mind you that we are getting extremely close to that May release of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom out on the 12th. I can't believe how close we are to it, but in the current focus and what is releasing this month, I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, which, if any of these games on today's list, will you be picking up? There's definitely some that I'm more interested in than others. It's not the most stacked major release of a Nintendo new game month ever, but I do think there's some notable ones worth looking into. So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.